Colombia's political situation leading up to the 1900s had a major impact on the independence movement of Panama. There was a major civil war in Colombia from the October of 1899 to the November of 1902. This was about the conflict between political groups in the country, which was a problem ever since they had gained their own independence from Spain. This civil war was called the Thousand-Day War, and it was between the Liberal Party and the Conservative Party. This was a really bad situation for Colombia because the country was dividing during this time politically and also in many other aspects. Due to this tension, the economy was also struggling. This war was also one of the deadliest armed conflicts in Colombia, with 100,000 people killed. In contrast to Colombia, the United States was thriving. During this time, the United States was looking for economic opportunities in the world to further gain money. They wanted to create the Panama Canal because it would aid in trade and travel. Theodore Roosevelt, who was President of the United States at the time, and John Hay, who was Secretary of State, wanted to imperialize. Since the isthmus was controlled by Colombia, it would be a hard task to gain control of this land, which is now the Panama Canal. In 1901, John Hay created the Hay-Huron Treaty, which would allow the United States to control the isthmus land. In return, the United States would pay Colombia much-needed money. Thomas Huron, who was in charge of the Colombian affairs in the United States, would negotiate the terms of the treaty because Colombia was obviously occupied with their own political conflicts and the Civil War. Ultimately, Colombia had rejected this treaty because they feared the loss of sovereignty, and also the United States domination. However, the lack of communication due to the political situation and the war in Colombia led the United States to believe that they only rejected the treaty because Colombia wanted more money. This made Roosevelt really angry, and then he also set out to gain this land in a different way. He made an agreement with Panama to have a rebellion in order to gain independence from Colombia, which he then would pay them for the isthmus as well as give them additional support. Because of Colombia's political situation, hurting them in every possible way, Panama did gain independence. David Smith's political cartoon is a great representation of what happened during the independence of Panama. Colombia previously ruled over Panama, which is symbolic in the cartoon of how Colombia was really developing and raising Panama in the egg. And it also shows how the United States was also involved in this because the men, one of them was warming the egg to make it hatch, and the other one was there for the chicken to first be exposed to, which is also Theodore Roosevelt, who was the president of the United States. This egg symbolizes how Panama, a new country, broke away from Colombia, leaving Colombia broken, not only as a country, but also from the devastating effects from the political tensions in the Thousand-Day War. Years later, in 1914, Colombia and the United States tried to mend their relationship and stop the tensions that were occurring between the two countries from the Panama Crisis. This treaty was called the Ureta-Thomas Treaty, and this treaty not only mended the relations of the two countries, but also questioned their foreign policy. At this time, they had adopted a foreign policy of rispus polum, which means looking to the United States as a model for not only the new foreign policy, but also in many other aspects. Therefore, Colombia's political situation leading up to the 1900s had a major impact on the independence movement of Panama.